Okay, so we're going to continue our series on lighting your lamp. How bright is your shine? As we work through our topics that were presented by the congregation to discuss. So, memory verse, you have one job. Everybody get it? It's on the quiz. Okay, so today's topic is conflicts. Big topic, right? A lot of area, a lot of ground to cover. So the end state is not to end up like this. I don't know what happened, but someone's got a broken heart and someone got canceled. And so we have to learn how to manage our conflicts, right? Otherwise, bad things tend to happen to our relationships. So, again, it's a big topic. How many different categories of people can you imagine you can have a conflict with? Yeah, it's everybody. Everybody is the big circle. But then all the other subsets of people are also in that circle. And so it's 100% overlap on the diagram, right? So in order to do that, I think we need to scope and scale this a little bit because there are different ways to have conflict with different types of people, particularly when we talk about the lower life forms, okay, teens, tweens, and children. Because you'll have conflict with them, but it's easier to handle if you manage it effectively and you remember who you are in the situation, and then you remind them of what they are in the situation, and then you're able to move forward. Is this hitting a little too close to home? Really? So, well, you're not fully actualized yet, right? Can't vote. For some reason, you can't seem to get a job and pay rent. All you do is you eat my food, you breathe my air, you require my resources to go places and do things. I don't know, it sounds like a lower life form. It sounds like a goldfish with a mouth. But not to be too hard on you, because I know you can take it. So, we'll talk about you next week, though, so please make sure you come so you can defend. Yeah. Please bring a few of the conflicts you've had with her, Dwayne. We'll see if we can't just totally expose your personal life. Right? All right. So we're gonna stay focused on adult and adult conflicts for this week. So this is much more interactive, if you haven't figured that out already. Much more like the discussions we would have when we were using the game of life as a theme to hang our discussions on. Because the Bible is very specific and directive on how to handle conflicts. That's not the problem. The problem is do we do it, and how do we master those techniques? Yeah. You know, the Bible doesn't authorize that position. So we're going to get there. Because that's the worst thing you can do. There are some things you can do left of it to decide, but once you agree that you do have a conflict to be resolved, you must. Even if it goes if you're a win or loss person, even if it shows up as a loss in the loss column, we got to resolve it. So we'll establish a few rules, and then we'll talk. Okay? So, have you ever tried to argue with a maniac? Have you? Or with someone who won't give you, the opportunity to speak, or someone who just wants to have an emotional outburst? It's frustrating, right? I mean, it will drive you insane. So, for the purpose of our discussion, we'll eliminate those people from the gene pool, but we'll eliminate them with a little bit of discussion right now, So what do you do if they're not a rational actor? And everybody understands the term, right? If they can't be trusted to behave according to the rules of an ordered society, they're not a rational actor. That was one I hadn't considered. Okay. Probably the best answer. That's right. Don't light yourself on fire to keep other people warm. Lower your expectations of people. So I should accept that not everyone can be rational and then argue with them. Right. Those are our guidelines. What if I'm operating with someone who has never even heard of Proverbs, doesn't even know it's a book in the Bible? Yes, we're going to get there. Yes. So once you acknowledge option. And so, I mean, and you can have fun with it. One I like to use is that I yield all my time to you and then leave. So all time in the conversation belongs to you, and I'm done. I go. Yeah. Well, they'll speak anyway to an empty floor because sometimes it's about gamesmanship. So consider this, as a part of the conflict. Am I dealing with a rational actor? Because if you're not, don't. And be done. So if it's too emotional a position for them and they're losing their mind about it, don't help them lose what's left. Just go. I like that one. How do you know it's drama? This is important. You should have criteria for this. How do you know when someone else's or your own business is drama? If it involves a group and someone has instigated it, it's drama. Always. You can walk around that topic because you've got something you did at one point where you did exactly that and you don't want it to be drama, but it was drama. Because groups can only have drama. Because if it were reasonable conflict, what would I do? I would go to Amy and I'd say, Amy, I have this issue with you, and we'd work it out. To our mutual satisfaction or not, but we would work it out. If you have to drag everybody else in because you just want a lot of chatter and sound in the conversation, it's drama. May not have started out that way, but that's what it's become. If it's unreasonable, if it is a position that you would not expect a reasonable person to take, it's drama.
Do you think an unreasonable person recognizes they're unreasonable?
No. That's why you have to and leave. But you can't scapegoat this either. You can't just say that anyone that has a problem with you is unreasonable and walk away. That's not cool either.
Nor is it also only exclusively usually their fault. Sometimes it's us.
Oh, we're going to get to owning it. Owning it's so much fun, isn't it?
No.
No, it's not. No, it's not.
I'm easier to fix than others.
I'm easier for me to fix than others. Took a long time to figure that out. I do my best work on me. So be careful of drama. If it's on the internet, it's drama. Period. That's all the internet is. That, cat pictures, and the occasional someone had a birthday. That's it. So be careful. Because drama can't be fixed. It's just simply waiting for the next topic. Did I break this? There we go. How about that one? Because we're talking to the converted in here. Remember who and what you are. Always. Because they do. I don't know how many times I've been convicted at work by someone who asks, they all know I'm a Christian, but light me up with your stupid problem that you let go catastrophic because you wouldn't bring it to light 15 to 20 days ago. I'm breathing heavy just thinking about it because that's my life right now. And they'll be like, you sure you're a Christian? I'm like, not right now. I'm going to go pray for me later, but I might have to attend your funeral. So, remember who you are. So, we're going to get into some of these. Scripture is very defined about how to handle conflict, isn't it? And there's really only two places you need to go, but you should know the whole Bible. So, I love 2 Timothy because it tells you how to treat people with respect. And so, we'll read that one. See if it's still pulled up because I let my phone go idle for a few minutes. And it's not. I don't know whichever was quicker, going through, scrolling through phones or just flipping pages. It's a race to see if anyone beats me. All right. So in this whole section, of course, we're talking to Timothy about a lot of topics in the letter, but right now we're talking about false teachers and how to correct them. But the principle applies to a lot of our conflict, okay? And so Paul writes, flee the evil desires of youth and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, along with those who call on the Lord out of a pure heart. Don't have anything to do with foolish and stupid arguments because you know they produce quarrels. And the Lord's servant must not be quarrelsome, but must be kind to everyone, able to teach, not resentful. Opponents must be gently instructed in the hope that God will grant them repentance, leading them to a knowledge of the truth, and that they will come to their senses and escape from the trap of the devil who has taken them captive to do his will. So, how do you argue? Peacefully, knowledgeably, consciously, because sometimes we have emotional positions and we need to avoid taking a stand on those. And gently, if I already said that one. Because what's the goal? To be resolved, right? For someone not to have a broken heart and no one gets canceled. Right. So there's an art to that science, right? The science is knowing I'm about to have a conflict. The art is figuring out in advance how I want it to end and then guiding my position toward that end. But I agree, not everything can be reconciled with, I was about to say not everything can be reconciled with an apology, but it should be able to. But I'm only responsible to give them if I'm wrong. I'm not responsible for them to accept them. Nor are they responsible for me to accept theirs once they've given it.
I think that's the beginning of resolution and forgiveness. Don't ask forgiveness. You don't have to.
Have you ever done anything to someone and said, I'm sorry, and they said, I will never forgive you?
Yeah. Because I usually, in my experience, it depends upon the degree.
That's right. What level of grievance have I performed in their life? Some things can't, everything is supposed to be able to be forgiven. God can forgive all sins, but we struggle with that. Let me lose one of my children at the hands of another. That'll be a test for me. I don't know how I would pass, other than a lot of prayer and a lot of encouragement. That's funny because I got a slide in here about grace. So when we get there, you're going to argue it. Yeah. I agree with you. What the slide will say is remember God's grace. And so, because he owns it. I have trouble extending grace to others when I don't have any. If that's what you mean, yeah. You ever poured gas on a fire? They have a choice. Everyone has a decision to make in a conflict.
Early on, the very first thing, we have to decide, is this a foolish or stupid argument? And
Yeah.
if so, don't get involved in it. Just walk away if you need to. But then if it is something that we do need to resolve and it's not foolish or stupid,
Right.
then we can follow through.
We're going to get to that because I believe that's the first part of conflict resolution. So, so yes.
You know, can I call you sir? I mean, that can get to be a.
So yes, I think that comes at a certain point of every generation's existence. For us right now, where we're at, a lot of the things that the new generation is doing seem stupid. Now imagine being an actor in 1898 and you have female actors and you want to call them actresses and they are losing their minds. They're actors. There's only one term for it. Now we call them actresses because their position changed and that's what they demanded. And they want to be called actors again. Every position in the world has been taken before and comes back around. This is not our first rodeo with stupid. Every generation has this rodeo. We reach a point where we're done, I think. We get a little bit older, we're like, look, man, can it just stay the same? That's what's being fought right now in America when you break it all down. The largest generation ever birthed is done with change. It's okay. Don't worry about it. It'll pass because all things do. I can't wait till it's my turn. I'm anxious to meet my God and Creator. I'm not hastening it, but if that helps at all, that's the way I perceive things right now. And it keeps me from having to get involved. And it keeps me off the internet, for which I'm so grateful. Sir.
How do you define, I forgive and I won't forgive?
There's a lot of people understand what forgiveness actually is, like what the Bible says, and it never says to forget.
Right.
Forgiveness is a commandment, but it never says to forget. Forgiveness doesn't mean trust. It doesn't mean that you're off the hook.
Nor does it mean I have to allow you to do it to me again by giving you an open ticket to ride the Ray Fuller ride unlimited number of times. And so in Disneyland, we used to have A, B, C, and D tickets. They didn't have tickets for individual rides. And if you had an A ticket, you could go on any ride in the park as often as you wanted. So I don't have to issue people A tickets to ride my life. I make choices every day of who's in it.
Well, I think sometimes we got to pray for forgiveness. I don't think it's a one-time deal. It's a daily occurrence.
Yes, until we fully master setting something aside, which I don't know that we do. You have to remind yourself, I put that away.
I'll take it this way. I was the only one that can turn it off and say, yeah, I forgot. He's like, I'm not remembering your sins anymore.
That's right. You're the only one that can't forget. I'm trying to master forget, but I keep forgetting the wrong things.
So we as humans, yeah, we can't forget because it's going to stick with us. It's how we deal with it.
Yeah.
Do we continually forgive or not?
Yeah. How do you develop scar tissue properly and professionally?
Part of that is really truly understanding forgiveness. Because forgiveness is not for someone else, it's for ourselves. That's what it's all about.
I would offer that the Bible is for me, not for me to use on others.
Right. I mean, it is to make us right with God. And
Yeah.
that's one of the, when you study forgiveness, that's one of the things you have to learn.
So, Matthew 18, 15, 17. That's the one most people use when we discuss conflict, right? That's our blueprint. If you got a problem, you go see a person. If that doesn't work and you still have issue and it's great enough for you to still carry it, then you bring a friend and they get to bring a friend and you have a powwow. And then if that doesn't work, then if it's still so great an issue that you feel it needs to be addressed by a jury of your peers, as Christians, the jury is assembled and we bring our issue in front of each other.
But that's where we
Yeah. I would offer this. Yes, interdrama. I'll offer a discussion point on that when we get a little bit farther along. So, this is how we're supposed to do it. Everyone knows that as a Christian. It's not a difficult task to master. It's the execution of that we falter in.
I have difficulty with this one because everybody that claims the Christian faith presses this and solely this methodology on all that may profess to be Christians.
Yeah.
And outside your congregation, this isn't the same thing because not everybody is the
Yeah.
same belief structure. So you go, we're in a business structure that is
Yeah.
has some Christian values. We try to follow this, but this doesn't allow and I mean you understand.
Yes, I do. That's exactly what we're going to get into. Yeah.
And then a lot of this goes against what goes into how if the conflict isn't resolved, it actually throws more issues into
It becomes drama.
the final steps
Yeah.
of how it would work
Yeah.
legally and or throughout all this political drama that's always a hard thing is it's like outside of your congregation where that is
Yeah.
structured, it is hard because not everybody's
Yes. So if I'm not dealing with a Christian, then yes, before, as an end part of that initial discussion that I have to have with them or I don't have an issue, you should always clarify what the next steps are. Are we good? Okay, don't pretend we're good when we're not, and don't pretend we're not if we are. And if not, do we want to go talk about this with some other people? Because you're right, you can't expect a Gentile to understand Christian motives and behavior. We're sideways with each other. So you're right. So we're going to discuss a little bit of that as we go through this next part. So there's two sides to every conflict, right? Takes two to tango. I don't tango, but I've heard that it takes two. So we'll talk about this one first, right? This is when someone comes to you and says, Ray Fuller, I have issue with you. Now, that's never really happened, but it could happen to you guys, right? So we're getting into some of those points you guys have made. Is there an issue? Make this your first decision always. There's one immediately before it, and then we go into Matthew. But am I in this? Am I listening to this? Are we a part of this? You have a choice. You should be honest and you should be fair. But there may be times where someone brings you an issue and you're like, dude, not my conflict. If you come to me and you argue with me about politics, I have no conflict with you and we are done with this conversation. I don't do it. If you come to me and you want to argue about somebody else, for or against them, I don't have a dog in the hunt. We're done with this issue. We don't have conflict. You have some internal conflict going on, I think, with yourself, but I'm not entertaining it. And I'm not the fuel to pour on your fire. But if they have a direct issue with you over a thing about you, chances are you do have a conflict to resolve.
Ray, I'm assuming your basic point here is between Christians, problems do not necessarily happen together, or we're basically focusing on.
No, this is everyone in the world. Everyone in the world. Because I'm more likely to have conflict with someone outside my value set than someone inside. The Venn diagram of people who meet Ray and are Christians barely overlaps. So, if you have one and you think you have one, shut your cheese pipe and let them work theirs. You've never heard cheese pipe before? Cake hole? Never? Nothing? Okay. I don't like cake, but I like cheese. So, difficult task to master, right? Just stilling yourself and letting somebody make their complete point. It's very hard. And then you've got a second decision to make, right? It's okay if you don't agree. I don't agree that your conflict with me is valid. I think you're reading into a situation or you're taking stuff out of it that was never placed into it, and you're creating this in your own mind, and you've run with it long enough now to where you have grievance. But if you did do something wrong, please own that and then master the art of an apology. And it's not a difficult task to master. If you look on the internet, they'll list a whole bunch of things you're supposed to do. But how about simply, I'm sorry, and I will do better? That's the simplest apology you can give.
The part about listening, I have faculty who frequently don't play well in the sandbox, and when there's $1 million involved, feelings is strong. So the phrase that I learned through my leadership training that can resolve a lot is, help me understand. So then they explain their side of things, and then it's like, aha, now I
Yeah.
understand why you feel so strongly.
And it's unfortunate that a lot of people, when they're emotional, they state their emotions, they don't really state their position. And you end up chasing their information in a circle, trying to figure out what the objective or agenda is. What's your true grievance? So, a good example. We're going to use the terms partner one and partner two, not because Ray Fuller thinks relationships are anything other than men and women, but both people can be either person in this. So, person one doesn't know how to pick up their socks. Doesn't know how to pick up their socks. Or any laundry. Or all their laundry. Person two cannot have laundry on a floor. And they cohabitate. And for a while, person two picks up laundry. And what happens? Over time, this builds up into a grievance, right? But when they have that impactful moment, is it ever about the socks? No, it's about everything. You don't clean up after yourself. What do you mean I'm not dirty? I shower. I wear clean clothes. And then you've got to actually break it down and figure out through discussion that it's the socks. That's how most conflicts go in life. Not just between husband and wife, but between all people. If you can break it down and find the socks, then you can figure out whether or not you're going to start picking up your socks, or if it's really such a big deal at all. Make sense?
Yeah, last weekend I was going through some training, and one of the things that one of the topics we talked about was learning to listen and then listening to learn, which means that once you've learned to listen to what the other person's saying, then you listen so you can find out, because, maybe it is about the socks, and maybe that's the key issue here, not everything else. And once you've learned to listen and are listening to find out,
Yeah.
you can resolve that conflict.
Right. So if you couldn't hear him over there, it's not just that you learn to listen. You have to listen to learn what the issue is. So I don't disagree at all. I think it's a great way to say it. But if you are wrong, please own it. That amazes people. Yeah, yep, that was me. I did that. I have a pledge to my boss. I will never bring them good news. So first thing I say every time I bring in a new CG in Fort Riley, when we do our operations and briefs, I will never bring you good news. Everyone else always rushes to the boss with good news. I'm always stuck holding the bad news. So it is what I bring to the table. Congratulations, we're about to suck at this. Or we are going to fail at that. Or this is not happening the way we laid it out. Sometimes that's because my organization slips a gear. And we didn't check. And we didn't verify. And we overly trusted. And so when I have to bring those bad news bits of information to the boss, it's a conflict between he and I at the moment, because they're never happy when the organization embarrasses itself and fails. I have to own it. So this is my mistake. Before we say anything else, you need to know that I own this. And it's only ever stood me in good stead with my boss, because he never has to look for who to blame. And in the Army, blame always finds a home. And so if you claim it, you get through all that stuff. And then he knows immediately what questions he wants to ask. How are you going to fix this? How did it happen in the first place? and what steps are we going to put in place to make sure it doesn't happen again. And we're good. But my job is conflict. So sometimes it's you. You have the conflicts. Has that ever happened to anyone here? You ever been upset with anyone? You ever been disapproving of anyone's actions and felt strong enough about it that you had to confront them? So, Matthew 18, 15, 17 gives us the process. I would tell you that there's one thing you have to do first, and that's decide whether or not you've got a conflict. That's the unwritten part of this. It not only teaches us how to resolve our differences with our Christian brothers and sisters and is useful for our interactions with Gentiles, it begs the question up front, do you really have an issue? If it's not worth going to see someone about, you do not have an issue. And then you need to master the art of blowing your issue into the air and letting it go. And that's a tough one. So we have to learn how to let go of conflicts that aren't conflicts. Sometimes it's me, right? Sometimes I'm the problem. Have you ever actually had to say that? I get it. I'm the problem in this scenario. Because if everyone else says you're the problem, what's the answer? You're probably the problem. If every relationship ends in a towering fire, if everyone else is always to blame for your woes, it's you. Fix yourself. Plus, we all have baked-in grievances, I guess is a term, based on who we are and where we grow up and what interactions we have with the world around us. Everybody's got some baked-in bias. And when you're in a situation where that is what's really being called forth, own your bias and step out of the conversation. Say, nope, that's me. I'm the problem.
Reminds me of when Jesus said, before you try to fix somebody else, before you try to take the speck out of their eye, take the log that's sitting.
That's right.
So yeah, sometimes we have to face ourselves.
If you spend your whole life working on yourself as a Christian, your light will shine so bright you will blind others. But if you spend your whole life using the Bible as a weapon to cudgel others, you will have no light at all. And when you die, you will be exactly the person Christ says, "Depart, I know you not." The Bible's not a weapon unless you're using it against yourself. So you're absolutely right. The whole theme of the Bible is work on yourself. And if people see that and your heart changes toward God and you become righteous in God's eyes, I guarantee you'll shine like no other to others because they won't understand why. So, he left before we could get to the grace part. So whichever side of the coin you find yourself on, remember grace. What does God show you? Grace and mercy. God forgives you all things. You do not deserve this. And so why are we holding on to petty grievance? Why are we holding on to conflict? Why do we have trouble forgiving? Not forgetting, forgiving. There are a lot of people in my life I have forgiven for the harm they have done to me. None of them will ever be allowed back in. Ever. On pain of death, mine. I would have to be dead for them to have an interaction with me. And I'm great at ejecting people from my life. I've mastered the task. And it's a very short list. It's easy to get thrown out. It's hard to get thrown in. Because I just won't have it. So, I don't talk to any of my biological family. How's that for throwing people out of your life? I don't need them because they're not helpful to my walk. I can fit maybe 7 people in my friend list at any one time because I will use an analogy of plugs. You only have so many plugs people can draw off of you from. Know how many you have, because a lot of people have 20 or 30 people plugged into them, and it's killing them. And you wonder why you have all these conflicts, because you're constantly drained and grouchy and gripey and frustrated. You don't need any of that. So, as I am forgiven, I should forgive others. It's easy when it's the small things. It's hard when it's the big things, right? You guys all stopped talking when it got serious. I get it. Okay, so maybe that's all the plugs you get. So that's beautiful, because when Denise and I had Kenneth and Kylie, we still have them, but they're gone. They're 30. Like I said, I have very few plugs, right? So when I plugged in the kids and Denise, I saved my other plugs. I didn't have any friends. I had time for church and my family, and that was all I did for 20 years. And I worked. I mean, everybody, you got to work. We're a capitalist society. Get to work.
Ray, I think a lot of this stuff, I mean, not conflict still doesn't exist, but I think the older you get too, the more you just realize, man, this isn't worth the fight. And you just kind of go on. At least for me, I can honestly say one of the best pieces of advice that I ever got from the time commander once was that, like, man, there's no need to yell. There's no need to get angry, because you've got all the power. Like, you don't, and I didn't understand that at the time, from a military perspective. But now, as I'm sitting in his position, and I look back at it, I'm just like, man, he was so right. Like, I don't even need to get angry. Like,
Have you ever led through silence and you just watch people crumble because they have to say something? It's beautiful. But I agree that would be a wonderful position to be in. What I see, though, there are a lot of people in the world who, as they get older, get more angry and more grumpy. And I feel for them. I pray for them in general. So I agree. It's great advice. As we get older, we should be more calm, right? I can't wait to see the Lord, but I'm not really excited about much else, because there's not really anything to get excited about, right?
because I think a lot of people don't know themselves. They aren't real with themselves and like who they are. And I think that takes a long time to figure that out. Some people never really do.
Yeah. We're generations growing old. I stole that from Highlander, but you should get to know yourself on the way, because who am I always with? I am always with myself, and the Lord is always with me. I just say there was like all of us in here, but anyway. Go ahead.
Sometimes too much generalized stuff.
Make it personal.
People are different.
Yeah.
Some people, they people, these people, they are just people like I am. I'm extrovert. I need people. I have never enough friends.
Yeah, you have more plugs. Yes, I know Vesna. She's a close personal friend. You have more plugs than anyone I've ever met.
I always, it's always welcome new person in my life. It's always welcome new friends. I'm not judging people. I mean, I have friends, women friends that no one could be friends with them, but I could. Because I always see person. I'm not sitting, looking seen. I'm not taking, seeing difference. I'm seeing person, human person. After all, we are all sinners. We are all going to the heaven by the grace, not that we are good. Oh, for us, be honest. So it is when you say you have five. For my world, I think it is too big number.
Needs to be what?
Too big number is five. Seven. Seven, okay. That's too big number for him. For me, get how many numbers you want. Everyone is going to know.
Vesna said she has an unlimited number of plugs. Everyone go see her.
It's okay.
It is. And you're right, we do, but we have to generalize at times in order to move the discussion along. But you're not wrong.
So managing people who you get along with is different than having friends. I would say that because there's a lot of them I'm close to, because
Right, you can have many more acquaintances than you have friends. Yeah. So I guess the distinction might be, I don't let acquaintances draw off any energy from me.
Especially if you're managing them so that they don't hurt themselves.
Yeah. Costs me no energy to give someone a knife hand and tell them what to go do. I'm not on social media. And so. We have. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe that's a class. What's a friend? Know your friends. What's the saying? Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. So, okay. So next week we'll talk about conflict with teens, tweens, and littles. Because that's right. It's a little bit different, but it requires more from you, believe it or not. Because someone had best be the adult in the situation, and it will not be them. Don't expect more of them than they can give, and you won't be disappointed. So we'll talk about that next week. So with that, we're complete, and thank you for your time.